I'm going to talk about Avalokiteshvara's 1,000 arms and
Yeah.
hands and eyes, and it feels a little bit like that right now. Right. Mm, okay. So we've been exploring the Eightfold Path. If you've been following along, if you were here last week, and Chris clearly isn't here. She's asked me to sit in tonight and next week. And in between, we'll have, if memory is correct, Erica and also Marilyn joining to share about these themes, these 8 elements of the path. And even this process, as I say it now, of coming together and collaborating, of sharing in exploring the Dharma, feels to me like what we're talking about. We're entering into a collective body as an expression of the Dharma and its practice. So that feels very sweet. And as we were walking, I'll say this too, what a delight to be in Sangha and walk. I felt like, it was like very hungry caterpillar. I've worked with kids for a long time, the like colorful caterpillar and all the little legs. And we're all moving together as one body out there. Feels there's harmony in that. I'm used to walking alone. I can't always get here in person. So how delightful to have a Sangha and know you're all here as well, to have 10,000 arms and legs. So Chris brought us into the element of right speech last time. I was able to watch her talk from Thursday, and I love some language that she used around baking or cooking up our lives and these 8 elements as 8 ingredients for practice, being very skillful with those ingredients. So we're looking at right action tonight. And I actually thought maybe we could take just a moment here to come together and breathe as one Sangha body. Everyone online as well, here in this space, like maybe there's some sense of tasting that collective body through the rhythm of our breath. Letting attention just drop into the chest or belly. Feeling the rising and falling of breath in your body. And letting the body know we're doing this together. And what a rare and beautiful gift to have a Sangha to breathe with. And to know we're breathing with all beings. Thanks, everybody. We're exploring right action in the context of right view tonight, which is to say, in the context of our interrelated lives or our interconnected existence. So we could say that right view means seeing that we reside within the body of Avalokiteshvara. It's like phenomenal imagery to just imagine ourselves as that body, the body of Kanzeon, if that feels more alive for you. And some language that's been coming forward for me is within a non-dual Buddha field of protective care. I'll say some more about that tonight. This is what I'm asking for us and inviting for us tonight, is to play in the imagination of what it means to reach out as one Sangha body, as Avalokiteshvara's arms, each with a hand in the palm. And to imagine our actions, right action this way, as gestures of this bodhisattva of great compassion. So some definitions to get us started here, get us going a little more deeply. Right action invites us to engage in our lives from a position of compassion and ethical conduct. We can't leave that out. Reminding us that our actions are woven into the fabric of this interdependent field of being. It calls us to refrain from actions that cause harm and to cultivate actions that strengthen our shared humanity, or the tapestry of our shared humanity, some fabric that we're already in and that we're building. And as I've been exploring this, I had a sense that right action also requires us to move beyond our comfort. And if you're following the teachings of Lama Rod Owens, I know some of you are. Lama Rod describes himself as a Black queer queen from the South, and he's also an authorized Tibetan Buddhist teacher. His teachings focus on liberation, and he means social and spiritual liberation when those words come from Lama Rod. Something I appreciate about him is he says, if you're really serious about getting all beings free, then we have to stop centering our comfort. We have to decenter our comfort. It's bigger than just feeling good. It involves turning towards what might be pretty uncomfortable. Can we do that? So I think right action includes this, being willing to give up our comfort or tolerate discomfort. And so how do we do that? And I have experienced being asked to give up my comfort in spaces where I've just grasped and said no, and where facilitators didn't offer any how do we do that? So it's been an investigation I've had for a long time. How do we gain capacity to be able to give up comfort? And the response that comes alive for me is through kindness, it's through compassion, it's through metta. So while we're sitting tonight, and when I come back next week, I really want to center loving kindness as sort of a vehicle for right action. So then right action becomes embodied loving kindness, embodied metta. So even if you can right now, just calling on, invoking a little metta here. It's that nurturing, protective care. Maybe it flows through us or is always here. You might know it as a person who has provided care to somebody else, or to the land, to a friend. You might know it as a person who has taken vows, which feels like a role of being a loving protector. And feel it here tonight, just offering space to one another, being here, your dedication to come here. There's some energy of metta embodied right action here, and rooted in the body. So there's a sense here for me of it's a generative energy, like something creative that comes online. The poet and activist and scholar Audre Lorde called that the erotic, and not just in a sexual way, though it can include that too, but that life force that moves through us. I've been feeling this loving kindness, protective care this way, is this strong energy that's moving through all things. It's like what's giving nature the vavavoom right now, like it's here. As Chris always says, it's alive. And I think this is the essence, or an essence, of right action. Responding to the world with that energy of protective care. Let me slow down for a second. And so stepping back, right view is seeing with eyes of compassion or interbeing. And Thich Nhat Hanh gives us some beautiful language around this. He says, right view is the kind of insight that helps us get liberated from, or be liberated from, dualism, removes all pairs of opposites, white, black, inside, outside, being, non-being, coming, going, birth and death, sameness or otherness. The right view liberates us from that. And right action then arises naturally from right view. This is still Thich Nhat Hanh. He says, right action is physical, bodily activity. Anything we do with our body that can support, protect, or save is right action. When it's motivated by right view, by non-discrimination, by understanding and compassion, everything we do will be right action. So mindfulness based on emptiness and an ethical framework and interbeing within that framework, it produces right action. It brings harmony and healing. And to step back a little bit more, a little bit further into the Four Noble Truths, which is how we got here to the Eightfold Path. So to be, the first noble truth is to be human includes, doesn't equate, but includes experiencing dissatisfaction and suffering. And number two, the causes of this suffering, this misunderstanding, is seeing ourselves and others as solid and fixed, as separate. This othering that we keep doing, and then getting stuck in our attachments. And number three, that there's a possibility of the end of suffering, the cessation of suffering. And four, that there's a path. And this is it. This is the Eightfold Path of liberation. So the Four Noble Truths, I name them again because I love this frame. It helps me get it into my body. That the Four Noble Truths are the how, and they're kind of cognitive. And the Eightfold Path is the, oh, I messed that up. The Four Noble Truths are the why, and they're kind of cognitive. Some of you are tracking it. Shout it out. Yeah, they're the why. And the Eightfold Path is the how. Yeah, when I was a little girl, my mom used to get so irritated with me because why? Why? And I did that all through until taking my vows. And I still do it. It's the nature of my mind to want to know why. But we get stuck, we get stuck in these like cognitive loops of questioning and being dumbfounded and baffled. And I love that we have a path. This lineage, this practice gives us a path. It gives us a how. So it takes us from theory to praxis with an X, like taking the theory and putting it to work through our bodies and our lives. So right action is somatic, the body practice. It's engaged. It's Buddhism beyond beliefs. And maybe remembering that we have to act, that the mind road won't get us there. It's not all the way there. Chris turned me onto this book edited by Jikyo Cheryl Wolfer, The Eightfold Path. And I'm going to share a little bit from it tonight. I think it's a really beautiful collection of essays from different teachers and practitioners. This one, Right Action, is Shodo Spring, is the teacher. The whole world is my body, right action. The whole world is my body. So I'm giving them some credit for this image of Avalokiteshvara's body that we're entering into tonight, acting from that place. And the chapter begins, she actually takes us into food. So I loved that Chris named that last week, this whole, cooking our lives, baking our lives, and how much people in our tradition and at least our lineage appreciate food. So the chapter starts with that, this sense of if we really were just to look at the meal that we are receiving, that we see the sun and the moon and the earth and the rain and the farmers and the tools and all of the labor and the entire cosmos in one meal. And the author then says, what could possibly be an appropriate response for a gift of this magnitude? What could possibly be an appropriate response for a gift of such magnitude? And right action is like this. And it arises from knowing our place in this beautiful interconnected world. And she goes on to say that our lives don't take place in our idea of the world or in our idea of ourselves. And that's a relief. It's a relief for me. That they occur in the middle of Buddha's compassion, or the middle of Avalokiteshvara's body. And that to be alive, we must completely realize that this is compassion, to be here, to act within this body. In a couple of other spaces where I've been working and practicing, there was a nice synchronicity that happened where Inanna, who's a goddess from ancient Sumeria, came into both of those spaces. And I love when these synchronicities happen. And Nana, some of the, I think the earliest writing that we have, stone tablets, maybe cuneiform, by a woman, engraved by a woman, Enheduanna, and she's singing Inanna's praises. And Inanna is fierce. So this ancient, early expression of protective care. Inanna is she who feasts on the corpses of dogs. She's not to be messed with. She's not just a twinkly goddess with a, you know, a sparkly crown. She's strong. She's fierce. And I think we need that. I think we need that right now to remember that loving kindness, even as a parent loves and protects their only child, we can bring that power, that protective care to everyone above, below, and all around. It exists in us. And maybe since the dawn of time, we've been tracking it. So I was in those two spaces seeing that there's some evidence that Inanna grew into Tara, who's an expression of Avalokiteshvara, who's Kanseon. So it feels powerful to me to remember some connection, maybe since the dawn of human history, we've known this protective care. Yeah, and something happened for me. I've been doing morning practice that involves incantation for protective care for decades. And during the pandemic, I really strengthened that. When my daughter went away to college, I really strengthened that again. But something happened through the repetition where at some point I started to have a sense of the repetition actually reifying fear, that I needed protection, that I was over here vulnerable, and that the protection was out there. It was like I'm asking for it, right? And I think prayer can do this sometime. It's like we forget we think it's outside ourselves. And as I've been finding Inanna and Tara and Kanzeon in these different places, it shifted for me again to no protector and protected out here, one versus the other, but instead this field of protective care that we are within. There's no stepping outside of this field of protective care. I think we could call that Mahaprajna Paramita, the mother of all Buddhas. Just some notes again from the Cheryl Wolfer book. I love, she says that we create this in our own lives, and it's not passive, it acts, and it reaches out to embrace the universe, which is what it felt like to come in person, to be able to come in Sangha tonight. Some of you gave me some warm hugs right when I got here. Feels like, care, this warm embrace, Avalokiteshvara's 1,000 arms. Thich Nhat Hanh says, falling is the action of the rain. Falling is the action of the rain. Without falling, there's no rain. It's just water. Right? We are our actions. There is no rain without falling. Our engagement with our lives, with the world, our activity and embodiment, our action, it is us. We are our actions. I have a sense of that within that field of protective care, that each of us are particles, verbs being expressed through that field. We are our actions. This movement through. And French existentialist Jean-Paul Sartre said that we are the totality of our actions, of what we say, think, and do. We are the totality of our actions, what we say, think, and do. He's not a Buddhist, but he sounds like one here. And then linking to the 5 remembrances, I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I'm of the nature to have ill health. There's no way to escape ill health. I'm of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequence of my actions. My actions are the ground upon which I stand. Some of you might know the layman Pang or the layman Pong, and hear it pronounced both ways. Koans. It's a family of lay practitioners from the 8th or 9th century China. And we know the daughter's name, Ling Zhao, and her dad, layman Pang or Pong. And one that comes to mind here as I've been studying right action is, maybe you know it, is their the father and the daughter are coming home from the marketplace, and the dad falls, and she just throws herself down on the ground right next to him. And I imagine him being like, "What are you doing?" And she says, "I'm helping. I saw you falling, so I fell too." And that to me is right action. It's just immediate, non-dual, just right here, right with. I'm just right here with you. There's no discrimination. In one of the other spaces where I work, there was a parent who shared with me just last week, an urban family had gone to the country, and the child reached out to touch the electric fence where the goats or chickens were. They were okay. But the parents' immediate response was to touch the fence too, to want to know what it was their child experienced. This is embodied metta. Even as a mother, parent protects their own child, we offer this above, below, and all around without limit. From the Wolford book, right action is something that arises naturally. It arises when the self slips away. And I think maybe I'll say it in case it's not, we can see the precepts are here. We see the paramitas are here. That there's affirming life, not killing. There's acting with others in mind, generosity and not stealing. There's patience and effort and mindful consumption, and going to the mom and pop store when you can, right? And being forgiving of yourself when you can't. Not harboring anger, reverencing the triple treasure. Showing up to the march and voting with your dollars and all the things you can do, and forgiving yourself when you can't. All of this is right action. And Thich Nhat Hanh used to say, all of Buddhism is engaged Buddhism. We just need some language, maybe for the time being, that helps people remember, helps remind us. So I want to give us some thoughts, some food for thought for discussion, and we'll go into some dyads here in a minute. Can we remember that every act, extending a hand to someone in pain, standing against systemic injustices, protecting the earth, that it all reverberates through this compassionate collective body? Can we remember that it all reverberates throughout this compassionate collective body? And if we could hold this in mind, that within this body of Avalokiteshvara, every gesture, every act is resonating here. If we were to hold that in mind and in our bodies, what would we do differently? If we could remember, what would we do differently? And this remembering, sometimes the word sati is often translated as mindfulness. The Pali word sati is translated as mindfulness, but we can also translate it as remembering. So if we were to come back to our mindfulness, our remembering, our embodied metta, what would we do differently? What does it mean for us to practice right action as part of Avalokiteshvara's body? So I'm going to turn to tech people to do some dyads.
Do some what?
Breakout rooms. Sorry. Give that. Wait, what room am I in? What space am I in? We call it breakout rooms here.
Yeah.
Okay, breakout rooms. Dyads here, twos.
Dyad, yeah.
And then Constance is a time person. Can you help me out? How much time should people have?
20 minutes total, so maybe 12 minutes.
Okay, 12 minutes. So maybe take 5 and 5 and a minute to share back and forth, and then they will bring online people back into the space. Is that okay?
What is the prompt?
Okay, the prompt is, if we could remember, what would we do differently? if we could remember this interconnected world,
Yeah.
how would we act? Yeah, or anything else that feels alive for you right now. I love it when Chris says that. Make it wide.
The building is ready to come back.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, maybe groups of 3 are okay also, however you want to do it, y'all.